For whatever reason, last season just felt like it was the Bills' year. With the Chiefs not only bothered by injuries, but also just less dominant than they were, and questions about Lamar's playoff consistency still at large, you'd think that it was finally the time that we'd see change and parity out of the AFC. Without taking away from their upcoming matchup at the start of the regular season in a couple of days, I want to rewind to a moment before the playoffs when fans were getting excited about this matchup. The Ravens are such a fun team to watch and probably up there with the Eagles in terms of the overall just best on-paper teams. What has been limiting them, and as unfortunate as it is to say because I truly do love Lamar, he has become extremely well known for being a playoff choker, or at least being inconsistent in the playoffs. And in the first half of the game against Buffalo, he wasn't doing exactly anything to change that. Stupid turnovers and just not playing well was becoming a staple of Lamar playoff performances. As he managed to pull things back together and rally a comeback against the Bills, Mark Andrews had his infamous 2-point conversion moment, and the Bills would end up playing the Chiefs in the next round. Something that could be said about this is not the performance of Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but actually the performance of the supporting casts. If you watch that game, you'll notice that what actually led to the comeback in the second half was Derrick Henry and the Ravens' run game. It completely resurrected not only the Ravens' offense, which was looking stale, but it also gave a ton of confidence to a defense that got some time to rest and really cheer for their team. It built up a lot of confidence, and I think Lamar was able to rally off of that. This time against the Chiefs, things would be a little bit different though. It wasn't some magical comeback from Patrick Mahomes that everyone couldn't stop talking about that managed to win the Chiefs the game. It was actually the connection, or I guess lack thereof, between Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid on a crucial fourth down that ended up deciding the winner. As a fan, this was a little bit weird to see. For most of these games, it's almost like you're watching Josh Allen try his best, but for some reason, somehow, Mahomes will get the ball with 2 minutes to go and lead the game-winning drive. But that didn't happen this time. Mahomes was not some otherworldly football entity that was impossible to stop. The Bills just weren't good enough. Maybe Josh Allen wasn't good enough. And I'm pretty hesitant to say that. I'm a huge Josh Allen fan, and I genuinely do think he deserved the MVP that he managed to win, as good as Lamar was. But that's partly because of this entire video's point. To everyone in Buffalo, I'm sorry, but the Bills just aren't a good team. Look, I get it if that sounds crazy. I almost expect it at this point. But I'm also capable of understanding that there's a fundamental difference between how the Bills were built and how their rivals in the AFC were at the same time. There's no need for the pitchforks. I promise if you end up listening to what I have to say, you'll probably end up agreeing. My criticism is not with Josh Allen. It's not with a lot of the great contributors on this team. It's with the way it was built and how it was built, because I seriously feel like the Bills' management in general, honestly, is not doing enough to surround a generational quarterback with enough talent. I think the best way to go about all of this is to look at the existing players first. We can start on the offensive line, which has become actually really great. My issue is how some fans use the stats like the 14 sacks led up, which led the league, to make them seem a little bit better than they are. While that stat is by all metrics an indicator of fantastic O-line play, it is definitely in part due to how good Josh Allen is in the pocket and his ability to extend plays and roll out. I'm not completely discrediting the offensive line, but there's a significant gap between them and the Eagles, for example. Another situation that I definitely had mixed feelings about was regarding James Cook throughout free agency in the offseason. He got paid, and for his credit, he played extremely well last season, with 1,000 yards on the ground alongside 18 touchdowns. His real contribution came in the playoffs. He was a true workhorse against a Denver defense without proper interior presence, and his best game came against Kansas City, where he was by far the most useful of Josh's weapons, with 2 touchdowns and versatility as a receiving back with a dominant rushing performance on the side. I don't know if I would say that James Cook deserves to get as paid as much as, for example, Josh Jacobs, but that's just the nature of the NFL's free agency market. His contribution has been undeniable, and the Bills managed to get him down from his original, absurd to be honest, $15 million asking price. It's hard to nitpick a move like that as a fan because even if he isn't worth exactly as much as they're paying him, consistency is pretty important with these teams and you want to show loyalty to players that perform for you. Piggybacking off of that, another re-signing that I absolutely loved was what happened with Khalil Shakir. Managing to secure somebody as talented and as crucial to the offense as Khalil Shakir for as cheap as they did is one of the best moves the Bills could have possibly done. Khalil, while young and while I do have my criticisms for him, was really good. He's fantastic at yards after the catch, and he blocks hard and is a really great locker room presence. My problem is not that they signed him again, it's that he's being rolled out as a wide receiver 1. This is a formula that has been proven not to work. It actually represents a lot of my issues with the way this team has been run. Rolling out the same roster year in, year out when the same result keeps happening. They have got to figure out how to spice things up, and that's kind of what I'm frustrated with. Again, I am not a Khalil Shakir hater or anything like that. I could see him managing to hit 1,000 yards next year, and there are few people as talented after the catch. He does a fantastic job at making people miss, and his balance is absolutely fantastic when it comes to breaking tackles. The issue is that he runs a super limited route tree and doesn't really cement himself as a separation guy that can get open no matter who's guarding him. In terms of screen passes on third down, which he somehow always seems to convert, there are few better than Khalil Shakir, but with the responsibility that the Bills are asking him to take on, I can't see him thriving the way he would in a different situation. I believe in the role that Shakir plays, and he could be a contributor on a championship team, there's no doubt about that. But given his route tree, given his skill set, this is not a role that he should be playing. Keon Coleman is a more traditional X receiver in that sense, but he's struggled to get separation all season long. As a jump ball guy, he's fine, and he's very young with a lot of physical talent, but as the wide receiver 2 on a Super Bowl contending team? Just remember that the Eagles' wide receiver 2 is Devontae Smith. And despite A.J. Brown playing really bad in Week 1, there are levels to this. Unless both of these players on the Bills can take a huge step forward next year, unfortunately the receiving core is just not up to Super Bowl standards in my eyes. While they did bring in Palmer, and I do support that move given the team's cap space, I don't think it was bad to target someone like this. I just don't think that it pushes the needle anymore for them. When the pass to Kincaid fell incomplete, I looked over at my friend who I was watching the game with, and he said something that would stick with me and not only inspire this video, but also completely change the way I think about the Buffalo Bills. He said, if Stephon Diggs was out there, that's a first down. And I get it. From an organizational perspective, you have to move on from someone who's causing as much drama as Diggs. But at the same time, you just need a go-to guy to be a successful playoff football team. Compare Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman to the aforementioned A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. If you want to go a whole step further and look at the Ravens' receiving room, you could even say that they're significantly better than the Bills. Bateman is the wide receiver 2 on that team, and he put up similar stats to Khalil Shakir. It's just evident of the issue here that as good as these guys are in Buffalo, they don't match the talent of the teams they're playing. Something that can be decided in football games, especially playoff games, is that when all of the chips are down and the game is decided by one single play, who is going to step up and make things happen? That's what this roster ultimately lacks the most, because Josh Allen has been that guy, and it's just not enough. Football is a team sport. There are 11 people on the field, and the roster just lacks game changers. I won't hate on Maxwell Hairston too much over on the defensive side of the ball because he is a rookie, but I am extremely critical of that draft pick. I don't think it makes sense to pick him because there were better players at the same position available. I do agree with strengthening the defensive back room, but I just don't understand why they made this move the way they did. Teron Johnson is a admittedly great nickel, and Benford is a super fundamentally sound cornerback 1. When Will Johnson was available with both picks, as well as Nick Emenwari, I just wish they went a different direction. I'm not convinced that with Hairston's frame, he will be effective, to be honest, speed aside. It's not the worst pick, it just doesn't really convince me, which is exactly the problem I've been having with the Bills for so long now. Every move they make, even their roster, it's fine on paper. It's passable. It's not going to get anyone fired, especially not when you have someone as good as Josh Allen under center. But the problem is that they're not taking advantage of the Super Bowl window. These moves that they're making, all these draft picks, they're fine, but they're not making this team a Super Bowl contender. They're just pushing the needle slightly. Bringing in Bosa, for example, was a good move, all things considered. I definitely won't criticize them for that because I'm a big believer, especially if you look at our last video, that every Super Bowl contending team should have at least one dominant pass rusher. Rousseau and Ed Oliver have managed to round out a very good defensive front, but I don't think this will be the Super Bowl winning move that Bills fans kind of need it to be. At 30 with a lot of injury history, it's just hard to bet on. As a genuine fan of this team over the years, I hope Bills fans don't take this video as an attack. I feel like you guys, better than probably any fan base at this point, would be able to understand the frustration that I have while watching your team. In the past couple years, I've seen the Bills go through practically every single situation imaginable. There have been times where they got extremely lucky, and there were also times where they were unlucky. They've been dominant and they've gotten exposed just as fast. So my issue is that on paper, this is the exact same team as last year. I'll be the first to admit that you can never count out someone as good as Josh Allen, but it just feels like the Bills management would rather tread water than shake things up and make a serious championship push. Until the organization and team can make some serious changes, why would they ever expect a change in result? Thank you for watching another video here on DNA Sports. This one ran a little bit longer than most of our videos do, but there is so much to talk about, and even now we just scratched the surface. So if you have any questions or want to comment your thoughts, let us know and we're happy to respond. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a video, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.